We're talking Georgia recruiting with the man himself, Rusty Mansell of Dawgs HQ. He's here in Nashville because he had an exclusive interview with Jared Curtis, and we're going to talk about that. But first, there was a big visit weekend in Athens, the scavenger hunt. It was this past weekend. A lot of people on campus. You guys did a great job at Dawgs HQ of covering it thoroughly, but who was the headliner? Who would you say was the biggest name on campus?
I think it's a positional group. The inside linebackers, you look at Nick Abrams out of Maryland, Shadarius Tootle out of Mobile, Alabama, and those two guys that Glenn Schumann's been locked in on. Obviously, we could do a whole hour on Tyler Atkinson, but they got to sign some other people. If they were to get Tyler Atkinson, they got to have some other guys with them. And you look at Shadarius Tootle, and you look at Nick Abrams, two guys I think kind of headliners this weekend.
Right.
You look at Shadarius Tootle, he's verbally committed to Auburn. Georgia made a lot of movement with him this weekend.
Brought his parents,
brought everybody with him. You see Georgia coaches shooting basketball with him at his house on Thursday. He's back in Athens on Friday. So you understand there's a lot of kind of momentum behind the scenes. That one's not over. He's going to take his visits. But listen, if you're going to land these guys, you got to take a good swing.
Right.
And Georgia has been really, really good now on official visits. That's something they do very well. Talking to prospects, that's something that Georgia does very well when they get you on campus.
Yeah, and that's what this visit weekend kind of looked like, because in the grand scheme of things, this is an early visit.
Very early.
I mean, these guys
very early.
might go and take 6 visits in a row from this point on. They might go take 5, 6 visits. So who was somebody that was on campus that you think Georgia made up ground with, somebody to keep an eye on now moving forward?
Well, I don't know how much ground they make up. I know this kid's been a priority for a long time, and that's Ryan Mosley, wide receiver out of Carrollton High School. This is a kid that could play safety. He could play wide receiver. He's got a lot of offers from a lot of different people. This is a guy that James Coley has locked in on. They really like everything about him on and off the field, his make, his game-changing ability. This is a guy, they feel like his toughness coming out of Carrollton High School with Joey King. He's been coached hard there for sure, and they feel like he would transition well into Georgia. So I don't know, like made up ground, but kept the consistency, the momentum. This is a guy I think at the end of the day, I think ends up in this class for Georgia.
All right, so no, at least publicly, no verbal commitments over the weekend. Do you think there was anybody that was on campus that maybe 7, 8 months from now will end up being a Dawg?
Well, you look at this, and Shadarius Tootle's a guy. You know what I mean? And I know that Steve Wolfhall made a big prediction on Monday, and the old Fong bomb. You talking about driving some stuff around the internet. I'm not ready to say it's a done deal, but I do think there's a lot of momentum behind the scenes, and I think Georgia fans weren't really aware of how hard Georgia was recruiting him behind the scenes and kind of that name. But this is a kid they really like, and Jalen Walker was in town. Spent a lot of time with Nick Abrams, but he spent a lot of time with Shadarius Tootle, and that probably don't hurt to say, hey, this guy right here just signed last week for a guaranteed $20 million playing a position that we're trying to recruit you here for Georgia at.
All right, so let's talk a little Jared Curtis. You're in town with Jared Curtis, one-on-one exclusive, up on Dawgs HQ as we speak. Go check that out. What did you learn from sitting down with Jared Curtis?
It's really one of those things that I've liked over the last 15 or 16 years is you just sit down with a kid. You know what I mean? And Jared doesn't do a lot of media. Once it got ramped up, he shut that part of it down. So kind of talked with his family, talked with him. I was like, look, once all this is over with, can I come sit down with you? But I was really impressed with him in person and kind of talking about the things and how tight that race was, man. Yeah. There was a time when he thought he was going to Oregon. But I can't say it enough. You have to credit Mike Bobo. He never let up and stayed on that recruitment as hard as he could, and at the end wound up getting him. But I was impressed with Jared Curtis and the fact that he's fully focused on his high school career, but he is so ready to get to Athens. Yeah. And, in fact, Georgia fans are going to love this. He's got his OV in June, but he's coming back multiple weekends to help recruit players to join his class for Georgia.
And why not? What did you see about him? One of the things I realized when he was here, he's very low key.
He's also big,
but he's focused.
Very focused. He's a big dude now.
When he steps in the room, I mean, you think 6'3", 225. He's a linebacker.
He is legit broad shoulder kid, and he got a freaking cannon strapped to his shoulder. Doesn't hurt, but very focused. I think very low key. I don't think that Jared you saw he handled his commitment. Yeah, he walked up and ripped his shirt off. Yeah. Jared, I think one of those guys, and I like to say this, he's one of those kids that loves football more than he loves recruiting. He just happens to be in the national spotlight because he's #1 quarterback in America for on 3. But I think this is a kid that checks boxes for me. You got to find out how he does on the next level. But I really like his mindset, and he's definitely one of those kids that loves football more than recruiting.
All right, last question. Who is the prospect within the borders of the state of Georgia who's seeing his stock soar this spring? Because it's the eval period. Actually, we're out of the eval period right now. So who is it?
It's a wide receiver out of Cambridge High School by the name of Craig Dandridge. This is a kid I saw. He's been at my MVP camps a couple of times. And he kept just getting better. I saw him play last fall, had a really good game. Then he comes to the Georgia Elite Classic All-Star game and just torches people. I was like, wait a minute, this guy's got a different gear. He can run. The other night in front of Georgia staff, he goes off in the spring game against Walton, which is a really good team. Tennessee, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Stanford, Georgia, all these schools are involved with him. But I do think Craig Dandridge, and credit my guy Charles Power.
Yeah.
He's only a 4-star on one of the major services. I promise you when it's all over with, he'll be a 4-star for everybody. But, again, our guy Charles Power, he has verified heights and weights. He has film to back it up. But Craig Dandridge is a kid that his stock has soared since January. And after this May, man, it's sky high for him.
All right, guys. Georgia fans, go check out Dogs HQ. Going to be another big week on the site.